We have to move to a 100% renewable energy economy globally and stop burning fossil fuels. How do we get 8 or 9 billion people to have that kind of a consciousness shift?
Why not ask the kids, why are we born? Why do we exist at all?
The vision of the business program is how do you build a business that's actually in business to solve critical social and environmental problems like climate change? How do you do that? And of course, it has to be financially successful. What's interesting is that this idea of purpose-driven business has become very popular in Europe and the United States, at least, as kind of the better way to make money, right? Because if you can, people want purpose in life.
You talked of sustainable businesses in the MBA program you referred to. And when it comes to MBA programs, I've been through a pretty prestigious MBA programs. You would find it interesting, Doctor. Why do businesses fail? I have mentored a few businesses, and in my limited experience, I have seen businesses fail because...
Well, I agree with you, and I think we're getting back to that fundamental question of kind of too many people consuming too many things. But I would say that there is a shift, right? It's not just green technology, it's low carbon technology. And again, how do we extend the window? How do we buy time? We have to move to a 100% renewable energy economy globally, right? And stop burning fossil fuels. That's one thing we have to do. And the other thing we have to do is figure out how to develop regenerative agriculture techniques that trap carbon in the soil and that also raise the income and livelihoods of farmers, small farmers in particular. So those two technology changes, a shift to 100% renewable energy, and that means battery powered everything, and regenerative agriculture that pulls carbon out of the atmosphere and increases the well-being of farmers. Those are the two things that buy us the time. It is true that there's so much greenwashing though, and what we have to keep our eye on is, okay, I have all these new technologies, but is my carbon footprint going up or down? That's, as an individual, as a nation, as a company, that's the measure, and we can't be distracted by these shiny new toys that claim to be green or whatever when they really are just enabling more consumption, more pollution. So I think we can make progress there, but then again, I agree with you that ultimately the problem lies in us understanding our relationship with each other and with the earth, and how do we get there? Because that is the hard. How do we get 8 or 9 billion people to have that kind of a consciousness shift? And I think the opportunity, as you say, is now. Because we are in crisis with the earth.
Yes. I think we have to begin with our schools. There has to be a basic self-inquiry process with the kids. I don't know whether it sounds outlandish as I say it. Even if it does, let's think about it. Why not ask the kids, why are we born? Why do we exist at all? And we don't want to come from a religion or a scripture or a particular ideology. Let's have a freewheeling discussion on this thing. Why do we exist at all? What's the purpose? The thing is, once we are sensitized to this question and it becomes something important in the mind, then the purpose of life is no more mere consumption. And when you do not have a great purpose, a lively and a lovable purpose to live by, then the only thing one lives for is just consumption. And unfortunately, it seems that a huge majority of the people across the world are living very purposelessly, and hence they live just to consume. And that's the reason why we measure the progresses of countries through their GDPs. That's why everything that we want to talk of has to be talked in numbers, and particularly numbers denoting money. I'm again not a money hater or something. I'm rather pro-life and pro-purpose. how will you stop a person from just trying out the next thing in the market if he has nothing else in his life? And how will you stop a company, let's say a consumer goods company, from producing the next attractive and alluring thing if the owners and the stakeholders in that company want nothing but money, because that's all that they have in their life? You see, we talked of reaching carbon neutral stage. Let's have great technologies, but I just want to open the question: aren't we trusting ourselves just too much? And if we look at the track record of our species, do we really deserve to be trusted so much? I mean, right now, one particular element, carbon, is the problem. How do you know, and how are you so sure that in the process of dealing with carbon, we will not make nitrogen the next big problem? It already is coming up, right? Yeah. Nitrogen is an issue, just that this issue will probably become large enough and frightening enough 3 decades later. Sulfur is an issue, and all kinds of heavy metals are an issue. But we are not talking of heavy metals so much today. We are not talking of sulfur so much today. We are not talking of lead and arsenic so much today. We are not talking of radioactive stuff so much today. In mitigating carbon, I'm afraid we are going to prop up some other problem, because we as a species, I'm saying with all humility, are not wise enough. Though we think we are just too smart. So we try this, we try that, and then we, no, that's a representative of the oldest civilization speaking to the newest one.
Well, please help me understand how we become wiser, because I mean, I do agree with you. I think the idea of purpose is interesting. I run an MBA program in sustainability, so it's a business program. But the vision of the business program is, how do you build a business that's actually in business to solve critical social and environmental problems like climate change? How do you do that, right? And of course, it has to be financially successful. It's a business. It has to make enough money to cover its costs. But how do you put purpose first, and then have financial success and profitability follow? What's interesting is that this idea of purpose-driven business has become very popular in Europe and the United States, at least, as kind of the better way to make money, right? Because if people want purpose in life, and if a company can provide its employees and its consumers with a sense of purpose, then it will be more successful. And then, of course, you get into this question of, is it greenwashing, and is it just a smokescreen, or is the company really dedicated to purpose? And one of my professors, Hunter Lovins, likes to say that hypocrisy is the first step towards real change. So that if you at least get people committed to purpose, then you can hold them accountable and begin to move them along those dimensions. But, human life has evolved under capitalism, right, to elevate consumption as the road to status, right? And status is what in my opinion, is what we are hardwired for by evolution, right? Because, we all seek status in our communities, and the way we get it is through consumption. How can we build societies in which people gain self-worth and status without that? I mean, we can look to indigenous communities, for example, in the United States. There's a potlatch culture in the northwestern US where people actually gain status by giving things away. The more you gave away, the higher the status that you achieved in your community. Can we make that shift?
No, the thing is, why do we need status at all? When we said that we need to initiate this discussion among young kids, why don't we ask them this question? Why do you need to draw your self-worth or self-esteem from somebody else? Because as long as we need those things from others, we will need a lot of goods from the world. You see, these two things are so very interlinked. No, I want my self-worth to come from the world, and I want objects that supply me happiness to come from the world. Must I be so dependent on the world? It is not a condition of great helplessness. The world can withdraw its sanction anytime. The world can withdraw the status it gave to me anytime. Universities, when they offer degrees, they attach a rider. Even the degrees can be rescinded. My degrees are not with me forever. So if I attach my identity to my educational qualifications, I'm running a risk and I'll be afraid. Should I really live like this? Must I really live like this? You talked of sustainable businesses in the MBA program you referred to. And when it comes to MBA programs, I've been through a pretty prestigious MBA program. So what really is the definition of success? When do I call myself successful? And if I do not have a rigorous definition of success, then no amount of money will suffice. No? When do I say I'm really successful? A related question is, and you would find it interesting, doctor, why do businesses fail? Why do businesses fail? I have mentored a few businesses, and in my limited experience, I have seen businesses fail because they fail really to live up to the expectations of their founders. Businesses don't fail. They just prove too inadequate compared to the ambition of those who launched them. No? So do I really require to be a superstar to have a successful business? No. I just need to have modest ambitions and my business will be successful. Unless the idea is really rotten. I cannot sell combs to what I'll be, let's say, 2 decades later to a person like me. So unless we have that kind of mindless idea, businesses are not really going to fail, and achieving profitability or sustainability in business is not going to be such a Herculean task. But because we want just too much from life, hence businesses fail. I want to spend this much, I want to have at least this thick a bottom line, and that's not what I'm getting. So I would rather shut shop. Yeah. This kind of a thing happened. I had thought I would come up with an IPO in the 4th year, break even in 8 months, and that's not materializing. And why am I not having that break even thing in 8 months flat? So if I love really what I do, will I ever let it fail? That's my question.